Welcome back to the Jenny McCarthy Show. I'm Jenny McCarthy Wahlberg. I'm so excited, you guys. I've been talking about Gaia and the streaming service lately that I've been addicted to. I've honestly probably watched, 3,000 hours of Gaia. And there's someone on there that I love. He has his own show called, his name is Randy Veitenhemier. The show is called Quantum Effect with Randy Veitenhemier. Welcome to my show.
Glad to be here.
Was it weird when you got a phone call that Jenny McCarthy wanted you on her show?
Yes. I was trying to figure out who's Jenny McCarthy.
I love it.
So.
I was hoping that was the case.
Right.
And what did you find out? Anything?
Well, I had to ask several people, and then they all said, well, just go on YouTube or go on. And so you've watched 3,000 hours, and I've watched about 10 hours of your interviews and stuff.
Oh, wow.
And like you say, it's interesting to be out there with information that other people are not aware of. So.
You know what? I like to, sometimes people know I go outside the box, but this is something that I have self-help gurus. I love experts. I love anyone that could help us get better, right? Anyone that is willing and wants to raise their consciousness, raise their vibration. I'm all for it. And I feel like there is an audience out there that wants it, even ones that listen to this show, believe it or not.
Yes.
So I want to dive into this. So the Quantum Effect with Randy Veitenhemier, that's the name of his show on Gaia, you guys. But let's talk about, first of all, consciousness in general. For those people that go, well, I'm awake. Let's start there.
Okay. So one of the things that everybody leaves out, particularly in the self-help books, you think about all the ones you've read or people talk about, is the thing they leave out is you. They always say, you can do this or you can improve yourself. And then, of course, the first question comes up, well, how you are you? And this is kind of how this got started. So to be able to calibrate consciousness and the truth and this, that, and the other, when you meet somebody and they say, hi, I'm Jenny, today you're running about 90% yourself, and that's very high. So we can calibrate the information field that somebody has. We do it all the time. It's intuition. It's calibration. It's non-logical. It's not a logical circuit.
That's interesting because my son always talks about his energy level based on like a battery of a cell phone.
Yes, yes. So there's a little symbol I use, a little Chinese symbol that I heavily modified, and it means a whole person under heaven. And I use it as a mem, excuse me, to calibrate like how Jenny is Jenny, how much energy do you have? You should have at least 36 volts, but we can have 40 or 100 or 1,000 if you're a professional athlete. They need to know that. And then how connected are you? In other words, like you're connected to things that are draining you of energy, and we want to break those connections. And then there's energetic inputs, like in Chinese medicine, you should have 28 or so that come in the body. Those are meridian points, and there's just a whole bunch of information there. But those four things is going to give you an idea of what a person is or who a person is or how they are. So this all started with somebody goes, who are you and how are you?
Right.
And we'd like to be able to answer those questions and answer them in a way that conveys information to us.
It is interesting that people sometimes aren't even aware that we're energy.
Yes, yes.
And we do affect each other, even standing in a room next to each other.
Yes.
Can you talk about how that can affect someone, even if you're don't know the person, not speaking to them?
Well, you have a level of consciousness. David Hawkins wrote a book called Power versus Force, and he lays out a scale of consciousness, and then you don't think about that you're speaking from a level of consciousness. So if you're speaking from guilt or anger or shame, you're vibrating that other person, right? If you're vibrating from a position of joy, which is what I teach everybody, that every day you should vibrate from the position of joy, which is 540 on his scale. And so joyfulness becomes really the highest form of how we go through life. But if somebody comes up to you and let's say they're down in the 50s, apathy or anger or shame, you're going to be affected by that unless you have a big energy field. So this whole thing about what I write about and talk about is having an energy field and having it at a level of consciousness that allows you to operate in the way that you want to be, which is being Jenny.
Can that energy field then, if it's high enough, protect yourself from, let's say, energy vampires?
Yes. If you're supposed to have we say at least a 3-foot energy field. You're running about a 5-foot field right now.
Really?
And we like to have a 9-foot. At 9 foot, we say you're unaffected. meaning it becomes a choice whether you want to participate with that person or not. Think about the cab drivers
right
in New York,
right.
or even just the people walking around. There's a lot of people you just don't want to interact with. Well, a big energy field gives you the opportunity to make a choice about that. So
that's so fascinating to me. Let's talk a little bit, because I've had phone calls where people called up and talked about people that drain their energy, or the people that say, I do so much for people, I'm exhausted by the end of the day. So talk about how even doing too much, caring too much, isn't healthy.
One of the things, excuse me there, one of the things is energy flows in and through the body. And you can block it with your thoughts and your programming and experiences to where you become reclusive. And then the other thing is there's people that don't have energy and they want it from you. So all celebrities and popular people want their energy. They want to be around them. And we say that energy is like a horizontal grab of your energy. But vertically, all energy flows in and through the body. This is yoga. This is Ayurvedic medicine. There's all kinds of teachings that talk about that. And so if you let that energy flow through you, you're never at a loss. And so these are part of the techniques I teach, that you're never at a loss for energy. You can come back to a high setting just instantly, just by being Jenny.
I love that. So that's where the importance of meditation, yoga, because you're connecting with cosmic source energy.
Right.
And that is the biggest kind of amp you can possibly plug into.
Yes, because one of the things that science doesn't touch is life force. It's like that which keeps us alive. And if you've ever gone into a coma or died or anything like that, we all have some of those experiences. The life force is still present, but as soon as you absent the body, even at night, that life force goes with your consciousness, right?
Right.
So you can see people that exhibit high life force. We call them charismatics. We call them, entertainers, all kinds of things. But you can have that level of energy flow without, independent of any kind of programming or any kind of I have to do these exercises or follow this guru or anything like that, because it's just breathing and being centered, and that's the first martial arts awareness. So
and in meditation, because I've had some people ask me saying, you know what, when I sit there and I meditate, I'll either do a guided meditation because my mind is so busy, or I'll tune in and just try to find stillness. But what am I supposed to be feeling? They said, what am I supposed to be connected? Am I just supposed to feel like a light coming through my body? Is that good enough? I've taught meditation for 40 years. The purpose of meditation is to get to the end of it. That's it. So it doesn't make any difference which meditation you do. It's just to get to the end of it. Because in that moment, right at the end of it, you have a connection to yourself and the universe. So a lot of people say, well, this is the one you have to do, or this, and no. I teach people, if you just sit quietly with your eyes closed, you absent number one reality, this physical reality, and you're instantly in zero reality, which is your thoughts and imagination. And if you can become comfortable there, as opposed to being fearful, then that's the moment you're looking for in meditation. Got it.
All right.
Just getting to the end. I love that.
Yes.
I want to talk about blockages, how we clear blockages that are lowering our life force, our energy. How do you clear them? How do you know where they are, besides when you get sick? You're
we accumulate those. So those blockages can be mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, psychic, psychological, theoric, astral, causal. So when you look at a person's having an illness, the answer is it's all of those. You can't have a physical illness without an emotional component. Right? You have emotional events, and the opportunity to have a physical event is great because you've lost all your energy. So the idea of being human is to have emotions, but not to stay there. So to clear them, I use my own energy field. A bigger energy field can override your energy field. We know that. Somebody convinces you should go do this or do that or have this or eat that. And ultimately you should have your own conscience that says yes or no.
So if you have an old belief system, and I talk about this a lot on my show, healing your core trauma, opening your mind, expanding to different belief systems, if you're stuck on one, how did you yourself, when you started this journey, using your energy, clear an old belief system that was a tough one?
We break the connection. That's the easiest way to think of it. If you think about, you've been married before. You're married now. You don't need any connection to anybody you've ever been married to or been with or anything, because you need to be Jenny in your relationship now. So we would want to break that. We'd want to break that connection. So I learned how to do that. I learned how to make an energetic break in your consciousness. It's
like cutting a cord.
Yes, that's the proper language. And so it occurs at the navel center, but we want to break all the connections. We don't need them anymore. Everybody's important in your life at the moment they're important, but after that, no. It's we want to be open. So there's that idea again of energy flows into me and out of me, love flows in me and out of me. I don't want to block that, because then once you start blocking, and that's that second thing, when you're 100% yourself and 100% available, it means you're not blocking, because blocking takes energy, and it's all non-conscious.
Right.
So.
That's why people are so exhausted.
Yes, definitely.
It's amazing how exhausting thinking can be.
I tell people, all thinking is a lie, and it's worthless, right? Because it burns up so much energy. It burns up oxygen, glucose, carbon. I mean, it just goes on forever. And you actually can wear yourself out more thinking than you can physically.
Right. I've been there.
Yeah.
I know exactly what that feels like. In terms of interconnectedness, people, I think all these terms are starting to come out more in the mainstream. We're connected. Can you explain that maybe in a easy version for people to understand? Because like I even tried to explain it to my son, and he's like, okay, I'm trying to get it. I don't get it. I'm like, well, we all come from source, but that's still...
We all have and trade information. That's it. So when you walk up to somebody, I walk in today, we give a hug, we're trading information, but it's non-conscious. So some people, if you're open, you trade more information, and if you're closed up, you do less. So we're connected to everybody, but we have filters. So we put these filters in place so we can limit the amount of information flow. Otherwise, we get overwhelmed.
Right.
There's that language.
Right.
So that's the idea, is we're connected, but we might want to modulate that if it's particularly somebody that drains us of energy.
Is there like an invisible umbilical cord with all of us connected to source? I'm like trying to get a visual.
Yeah. Okay. To think of yourself as a sphere.
Okay.
9 foot. That's what I teach. That's what you want to be. Inside that is Jenny, period. Nothing. No connections. There's connections to the outside of that. Think about a big beach ball, right? And those connections we can modulate. We can cut those cords. We can blank them out. And we really need to do that for our own self every day so that we don't get accumulating things inside us. So when we let things in, that's the proper language. We should let things in we want to let in, and we shouldn't in the rest. So if you think about a 9 foot, but then you think about the entire humanity, it's like an even bigger one.
Right.
And it probably goes out like 8 million miles or something if you think of it as an energy aura or field or something like that. And we call it collective consciousness. To be human is to have a participation in that sphere of humanity and what it means.
It is amazing how powerful the collective consciousness could be, both in a negative way and a positive way. Yeah. If we did all collectively, consciously unite and have peace, we would change the world.
Yes. Excuse me. If you look at the total effort that's expended in war, what if we just took a break for a year and took the entire budget of the entire world and applied it to something other than war? It's phenomenal, the changes that will occur, let alone in consciousness. So we don't think that way. That's our history.
Will we ever?
I don't know. I think people are working on it. I certainly work on it in meditation and stuff, that that we would be a little better at being humans.
And it just takes one person at a time. You don't have to feel the weight of everyone. It's just changing yourself.
Yes.
Which is a domino effect.
Yes. If you can change your own sphere of influence, and there's that sphere word again, because you and your moods and in your emotions and in your thinking affect your husband, your children, your friends, family, and it goes on out forward and goes on out backwards. So
that is so
through
true.
Generations. So.
I think all the wives listening can understand, and husbands, if someone comes home from work and maybe doesn't even say anything, but the energy you can feel.
Oh, yes.
Especially children pick it up.
Yes. Well, women have about 7 times the emotional density of their language as men. So if I say hello to you, it's just hello as a male. But if you say hello, it's like to another female, it's like, what happened? What's going on? Like, tell me, right? And you can see that because that emotive content is right up there in front. And so we communicate differently.
I mean, that's where that men are from Mars, women are from Venus comes in. I want to plug you again. I'm talking to Randy Veitenhemier. You guys, his show on Gaia, it's so good. It's called Quantum Effect with Randy Veitenhemier. Let me ask you this question. How can we practice identifying ego when we're triggered in it? Because once you're triggered in ego, it's hard to become aware of it.
Right. And awareness, teach, like say, as a martial art form. Excuse me. One of the things that in Native American teachings is look at me and listen to me. Okay, so to look at me being all mad, being all sad, and I've done this with children when they're extremely upset, is grab a mirror and put in front of them, and they will run away because they don't want to see themselves being that ugly, is what I call it. So you think about, here I am yelling at somebody, look at me. That's all you have to do, because you go instantly out of your emotions into your intellect. Look at me being all crazy and making faces and everything. I mean, we can see it on TV.
Right.
And then listen to me. If I'm using harsh words or being ugly, is what I call it, it's like instantly you would go, oh, whoa, I don't really want to be that way.
Right.
I don't want to sound like that, because that vibration of even a visual, a look, or of your sound, your voice can affect another person. We know that.
Absolutely.
So we should pay attention to it. That's it. That we just look at it and pay attention to it.
Finding that awareness, maybe even that little space in between to grab that morsel of like, I'm watching myself be an asshole right now.
Exactly.
And then work on that more and more. I'm so interested in your take then on the political climate. Like, I can't even like watch the news sometimes because I go like, this is just crazy.
Okay.
So,
we're going to go there, huh?
I don't want to necessarily go on the political part, but on how the people are so reactive and the anger and.
Okay, so
because they care.
Right. Do you? I equate it to love. I fall in love, and then we go through the divorce, right? And one of the things in divorce I always go is like, where did all that negative energy come from? Well, we start out as a state of love, right? So the answer is we store energy in the body, and we store negative energy, and that's what's detrimental. That ultimately leads to diseases and all kinds of problems. So you look at people with their frustration level. They're frustrated. They're frustrated by anything and everything. Just pick something. In society, it's not hard. You can come up with a list. But as soon as you trigger that, and then who triggers it or what triggers it, well, just depends on which side of the fence you're on. Right. So the political...
Some days it could just be my hairstyle that triggers people.
Yes. Or mine. So that's what happens. Everybody has this stored negative energy, and really in meditation and all these pursuits, we really want to get rid of that. We just don't want to have it.
So in some sense, the stored anger or hurt, I should call it, from their childhood or any past relationships, it's stored in the body. Right. And it's almost like the body needs it to get triggered. If you're not meditating, it's a way out, but it's not a healthy way out. Exactly.
Yeah. We express that energy. Oh, you say something to somebody, hey, do you remember so-and-so, and they smack you, let's say. They had that much energy already stored up behind that name. So what I do, I use a name as an internet address for your information field, and we can tap into anybody, president, anybody, and ask what kind of energy they have, what kind of consciousness, what's their state of mind. I mean, all that, and so that allows you to work on somebody or work with somebody to be better, because if you can restate it, which is what I do energetically, is restate somebody. Ultimately, we just call it a reset Jenny to be Jenny. What could be better. Right.
I love that. Recharge, as my son likes to say. I need to recharge myself.
That's true.
He's so wise. I swear to God, he's like a little Yoda. Yeah. How do you become? You talk a lot about like being yourself.
Yes.
How powerful that is. How do you do that without? How do you? Let me just try to say what I'm saying clearly. How do you judge good from bad without being judgmental?
That was one of the problems I had when I first started working on people. It's like, well, how could I work on somebody? I'd be judgmental that they need help. So I asked people to ask me if they need help rather than just automatically working on people. But when it's called being balanced, that's second martial art. If you have to be neutral, can you be neutral to anything? It gives you balance, which gives you the ability to choose, and certainly choose wisely, or choose from a higher state of consciousness than one of the moment. So ultimately we use Jenny as the absolute center of the universe, which is proper probably, and or anybody else. And then we want you to be the center. We want you to be balanced. We want you to be you, because you're going to make decisions and choices based on that. And I figure if God made you, I'm all for it, and that's what we want. So there's a key to it. If you're being yourself, you're actually being balanced and neutral, and you're going to make decisions and choices based on you. And that's all you can do. Otherwise, you're making it on somebody else, and ultimately that's going to be frustrating or a problem. So
true. And isn't it interesting how you can see it so easily in other people more than yourself?
Yeah. Look at me, listen to me.
I mean, I guess that's another great tool.
Yes. Well, you're reading people. We automatically outward read people, but very rarely do we take the time to read ourselves. And really, that sitting down at the end of the evening and just taking a few minutes, close your eyes, is to kind of like say, how am I? But ultimately, it's to also let go of everything that you've ever seen or done that day. Yeah. And that's another technique I teach. Because if you can let go of today, then when you wake up in the morning and go through these little routines in war day, you're going to be the best Jenny that approaches that day.
For someone listening right now going, well, I want to learn all these little techniques that you're talking about, how do they find that?
I have a book I'm working on. I'm at the cover stage, and I hope to get it published by January, and that's not a fixed date. But if they'll just kind of like keep in contact, it's energydoctor at me.com is my email. And
you can also watch you on Gaia.
Yes, that would, yeah. If you go to Gaia and watch those episodes, first of all, you're going to become an explorer of consciousness, and you're going to become an explorer of yourself. And I think it's something that really is not taught and is missing out in most people, is they've never been taught to explore what it means to be Jenny, what it means to be me, what does that mean? What does that look like?
Right.
And we all need to do that, I think.
We do. We make ourselves so busy all the time. I know I have a few minutes left, but I want to ask you this. With so many people that I hear wanting to take action in this world, and action is very important, mm-hmm. but when they they have a cause that it means a lot to them, mm-hmm. and they feel like the only way they could do this action is because they're so angry. They were so angry at this or this mm-hmm. political thing or this health cause. How do they transmute the anger into something else and still be a force of nature, an actionable person?
Well, anger is useful for people that are apathetic. You think about it, if you can't do nothing, somebody pokes you, makes fun of you, whatever, it can motivate you to anger, which is a state of movement. And but it's also a low consciousness, and it also hurts you. So we don't think about being angry at somebody hurts me, but it does. And so to move on up the scale of consciousness, we'd move up to neutrality or courage. Actually, courage is where everything happens.
Yeah.
I have the courage to say what I want to say, to go where I want to go, to do something, and have the ability to face those consequences because I have enough sense of myself to not to lose myself in it.
And be more effective in
Yes.
your cause.
Yes.
Randy, I wish I had about 3 more hours with you.
Yeah, there's a lot to cover in all
Isn't there?
this.
It's like so crazy. I was like
Right.
trying to quantum the time and space it out a little bit. Randy Veitenheimer is his name, you guys. Am I pronouncing it correctly? Because I do butcher people's last names.
No, you sound perfect.
Yes. Quantum Effect with Randy Veitenheimer on GaiaEnergyDoctor.com.
Yes.
Is where you guys can find him. I hope you come back sometime, especially for your book. Keep up the amazing work, and thank you because
I would love to.
feel
Thank you
the
very much.
vibrations.
Yes.
We'll be right back, you guys.